she's going to say, like what she just said, I'm not going to try to chime in. I'm not going to try to talk. And she will, because Sheila cannot not pitch.
No,
She's
I
that
said
good
I
of a host.
will
You right now.
every once in a while, but I will less this time than I did the last.
We're going to talk about it, and Sheila, just go take a nap. You go back down and.
This is the Messy Backend, where experts share customized business advice and tips about all the messy stuff that goes on behind the beautifully branded front end of entrepreneurship. This is where most businesses fail, so we're here to help you save time, make money, and succeed.
Welcome. Thank you all so much. We have a wonderful show for you today. I've actually muted Sheila. She's here on the podcast with us, but her voice is failing, and her doctor said she's not allowed to talk anymore. So we want her to be able to continue on for future episodes. So because of that, I'm going to be doing the intro. I'm going to be doing the interview today. Hopefully you guys don't get sick of me. Come back, more podcasts. She'll be back on. So with that being said, with the pandemic challenges we all face on a global scale, many of us have found ourselves feeling more stressed, and our bodies are starting to let us know they need more from us. It's important to be prepared and willing to put things in perspective to reduce stress, change our mindset, and take care of ourselves. Stress is such a powerful and harmful force that it is vital that you learn effective stress management techniques to live a successful, happy, and healthy life. It does not always involve hitting your wallet to solve stress. It doesn't involve consuming extra sugar. It doesn't involve working and hustling and doing things to take your mind off of the stress. We need to go back and find the root of the stress and eliminate it from there. Promise we'll be much healthier and happier if we do that. As Steve Maraboli says, you must learn to let go. Release the stress. You were never in control anyway. So on our expert segment today, we're going to be speaking with Trevor Carter. Trevor is a father, professional, and a coach. He personally went through depression 8 years ago, carrying responsibility for his wife, mom, and sister full-time for approximately 4 years. He had to make some radical changes for the benefit of his own health. He did his own research on remedies and herbs, essential oils, fresh organic food, and reprogramming his mind. Now he actually has a cool podcast called the Yes You Can podcast. And from there, you're going to hear some awesome questions and stories from real entrepreneurs, such as myself, with real messy backends. As an added bonus for the Messy Backend Exposed, our expert Trevor will not only share his experience, expertise, and the tools he suggests to get your backend cleaned up, but he will also expose the signs and symptoms of stress and what going through depression is like and how it took control of his life before he turned it around for a better life. Now, if you're an entrepreneur with a messy backend and you would like to submit your question or story to be answered by experts like Trevor, give us a call at 801-816-6726. Or if you've lost your voice like Sheila, please visit us at themessybackend.com.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of The Messy Backend, brought to you by our digital marketing agency, Lock and Load Marketing, where if it tires you out, you can hire it out. We wanted to take a minute and stop and thank you for being such great listeners.
Seriously, we can't do this without you. Thank you so much for listening and supporting us these last 2 years. We've loved sharing our expert guests, our stories, our experiences, our embarrassing, messy backend bloopers with you. We've just loved everything about this podcast. And if you love the show as much as we do, we want to hear from you. Leave a review on your favorite podcast platform or email us at hello@themessybackend.com. Who knows? Soon we may just have cool branded swag to give out to our top fan.
That's going to be super cool. And don't forget to subscribe to your favorite podcast platform. You can find all of those links at themessybackend.com/subscribe. So never miss an episode because they're pretty fun. Then check us out on Facebook and YouTube for video episode.
And now on to our expert, Trevor Carter, for his expert advice. Don't mess your seat, folks. Here we go. So today, rather than having a messy back-end question submitted by one of our listeners, I have a question for Trevor. Because as many of you know, I am a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a podcast host, I do all sorts of things. And a lot of times that can be very stressful and overwhelming for everyday, ordinary, boring, average people. But as a lot of you guys know, I am not average and boring. I actually grew up with a disability. And a lot of times when we are trying to do business and trying to work, we're always comparing ourselves to other people. We talk about that a lot of times. We talk about comparison is the thief of joy and not comparing ourselves to where we are to other successful business owners. And that can be especially difficult when you have a disability and you're dealing with things that you don't feel the deal with. And so you go, well, I've got a disability. I'm a disabled person. And I see all of these able-bodied, healthy people having success in their business. And it makes it difficult. And I feel like adds an extra level of stress into putting on this show and making sure that I'm performing at the level of somebody without a disability. So welcome, Trevor. Glad to have you on the show today.
Absolutely. I want to say thank you for having me on. It's good to have the conversation overseas. We have to build this as strong as we can for the benefit of the listeners on both sides of the ocean. So it's all a pleasure to be here. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love technology that we can do this, and still converse and meet up and everything. So let's talk about stress first of all, because in the able-bodied world and just in business in general, because a lot of our listeners don't necessarily have disabilities, or rather they don't identify as a person with a disability. That's a better way of putting it. And so let's talk about that first, and then let's dive into the disability side of things. So how do we deal with stress? What do you define as stress? Let's talk about that.
Okay, thank you. I think one of the things is with stress, it's not something you play with and forget. Right. It's a very serious health condition where people have to recognize the stress signs. A lot of people tend to ignore it and push it away. And it's important to say, when you get those signs, it means it's alarm bells going off. It means something has to be done. And one of the biggest habits that most people live, whether you're disabled or non-disabled, they tend to push it aside and say, oh, I'll deal with it later. And unfortunately, later becomes 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. And then people turn around and say, well, why didn't you deal with it before? Because they're letting you know this sign is so bad now that you're having to have medication. You're now going to have an operation. Mm-hmm. And your blood circulation has gone out of control. Right. So it's not something easy to pick and choose. It's something very serious that we have to take on board to acknowledge. Once you come across the symptoms of stress, it's telling you the body's trying to get your attention. So it's a very important part to play in recognizing those signs, whatever it may be. For example, sleepless nights. You can't sleep. That's a sign. People going to bed with stress on their mind, you're not going to have a good night's sleep.
No.
So people tend to say, oh, it's because of A, B, and C. Really, it's what's on your mind. You're going to bed with that problem on your mind. It's distracting your hormones, your emotions, and the weight and your thoughts. And it's literally fighting within you. And then when you wake up, you're still tired.
Right.
So these are very important signs to recognize. So we have to recognize these signs are alarm bells.
Right. No, absolutely. We were actually just talking about that on a previous episode of we need to, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we have a million things going on in our minds at one time. That's just what we do. We go, oh, what about this? Now this next idea, this great thing. And if we don't create, to-do lists and tasks and prioritize, and the prioritizing is very important of what do I need to get done today? Everything else can be done tomorrow or next week or next month. And it's not necessarily a bad kind of procrastination. It's prioritizing. And when I've done that, and I've gotten a lot better at doing that this year, is making those lists. When I go to bed at night, I know that all my things that I was supposed to get done today were done. And I can go to sleep knowing I don't need to stress out. I don't need to have worries and everything going, did I get everything done? What is there more to do? I've got so much work to do. I know that I can take it, as the old phrase says, it's how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. And okay, I ate the bites that I needed to eat today. And tomorrow there will be more bites, and the next day and the next day. But I don't need to worry about that right now as I'm going to sleep. So you're absolutely right. I know for me, when I reduce that stress, I get such a better night's sleep. I wake up feeling refreshed. I wake up before my alarm's going off and I'm like, oh no. And naturally, because of old habits, I wake up with that stress going, did I sleep in through my alarm? And then I look at it and it's about to go off in 2 minutes. And I go, oh, because my body says, you know what, Nate, you're rested. You're no longer stressed. So that's great. What are some other symptoms? Because you said symptoms with an S at both ends of the word. What are some other symptoms or signs that our body is warning us, hey, you have stress. We need to take care of this?
Very good question. Stress leads to chronic illnesses. Mm-hmm. The things that you pick up, for example, one is sleepless night. Number two, your memory cells is lowering down the capacity of your thinking. You put down your car keys and you're running around and say, oh, where did I put my car keys? Mm-hmm. That's another sign of stress. The other sign of stress is you're constantly sitting down and you're not hungry, but you're constantly eating sugar. You go eat biscuits. You have a cup of coffee, which got a lot of sugar in it. Mm-hmm. So what's happening there? Your emotions is actually pumping over. It's circulating itself over like a rushing water. It means it's hyperactive. Mm-hmm. So therefore, what do you do to balance all that to avoid chronic illnesses? You have to be mindful what you put in your mouth. That's number one. Mm-hmm. Technically, we're not supposed to put anything in our mouth that's going to harm our body. That's going to bring up your blood sugar level. That's going to bring you to be more hyperactive. That's going to make you be more, it's going to cause distraction. So these are signs that we have to recognize. And also, thinking about things that you shouldn't be thinking about, right, which is going to cause stress. So if you're a business entrepreneur, which you all are, there are certain things we have to prioritize in terms of where should my mind be focused on right now? Mm-hmm. One stage at a time. Some people take on 5, but what happened, the reason why they're taking on 5 different roles is because they're not prioritized or being specific about certain roles and tasks that can make their business grow and get revenue. What's happening is they're taking on everything, thinking it needs everything. No, you don't. You need to do one task at a time. You need to go to the board and write down and say, right, Monday, 7 o'clock, A, B, C. This is what I'm going to do. Anything else come between that, I'm not going to be distracted.
Right.
Here's the thing about stress. Stress kills. Minor stress kills. Now, if you look at cancer, everybody knows about cancer. Cancer has a way of diagnosing you with certain cancer. There's a risk of being alive, the risk of being dead. Now, with stress, it's the same. People don't realize minor stress just kills. People be literally killed by minor stress. Mm-hmm. So again, there are certain symptoms that you would recognize yourself that are coming as alarm bells. You have to take action. You have to get on top of it. You have to be honest with yourself. That's another thing. You have to be honest with yourself. you have to say, hold on a minute, what is going on here?
Right.
I need to get on top of this. And some people are not honest to themselves. You're just going to go around in circles with the same scenarios coming to you all the time because they're not dealing with it. So stress is not a game. Like I said, it's a reality. And we've got to level down our stress level, how we live, our family, how we communicate, where we go, what we do, what we eat, and how we sleep. So a combination of all that, there is what we call, you have to be accountable. You are accountable for what you're bringing into your life. Nobody else can do that for you.
Right.
You may be warned, you may be corrected, but hey, did you listen to what the person said? That's your responsibility.
Right.
People tend to go back to the person and say, oh, you told me so and so, it didn't work. It didn't work because you didn't do what I told you to do.
Now you're sounding like my mom. It's Trevor. It's like, hey, Mom, you told me to do this. Well, did you do it exactly how I told you? No. All right. Well, that's why. Yeah. No, you're totally right. And one thing that I just want to interject in there, you kind of brought up the idea of when we're stressed, we go and we drink sodas or consume the sugary foods or whatever. And for me personally, that's not what I do when I'm stressed. But I can relate to that because I think a lot of times what we do is we go and we seek out that comfort and that minor Band-Aid. Like you said, stress is it's a condition and there are red flags, and we're putting Band-Aids on it by doing something that we find comfort in, that we can get that immediate, dopamine release to say, hey, you know what? I feel temporarily better now. And you do absolutely need to be honest with yourself and say, why am I consuming this? And so for me personally, my addiction, I guess you want to call it, isn't sugary, sweets or anything like that. Mine is when I start getting stressed out, I want to tune everything else out and just like go on social media and scroll because it's mind numbing. I don't have to do anything. It's just let me do that. And man, Trevor, high five to knowing that about the stress and being, honest with yourself, because I had to pay a therapist a lot more than, our listeners are getting for free here for her to tell me that. She goes, what are you feeling every time you want to go on there and put away your responsibilities and we figured out it was stress. Stress was what was triggering that. Okay, no, I want to go do this, whatever it is, drinking soda, coffee, all of that sugar, whatever, those harmful habits are often led on by stress. So, Trevor, we're going to segue into, I believe that you actually have quite an interesting story about what might happen if we don't listen to stress and we don't listen to those symptoms or those red flags coming up, right?
Right. Yes.
Let's talk about
those symptoms are anxiety, high blood pressure, diabetes. It's different levels of chronic illnesses. It's a number of combination of illness that happens within the body. Your blood pressure goes high. Your immune system drops. So once your immune system drops, it actually marries other chronic illnesses within your body. For example, anxiety, always alert and always panicking every 5 minutes. Yeah, that's a sign of stress. And other combinations that cause chronic illnesses. Believe it or not, it goes deeper. It does cause cancer.
I believe that.
Now, it's married to it because when you look at the way the body operates, you have the hormones and you have the emotions. Now, whatever you feel, let's say, for example, I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody's nervous. They're going on a stage of 5,000 people. They've never spoken in front of 5,000 people before. Automatically, the thought coming to their mind is, oh, all these people are going to be looking at me. I don't know what to say. What if I freak out on the stage? What happens if anything goes wrong? Here's a question. What happens to the body? It starts getting hot. Get on the stage. Because you've got that image, the body starts attacking you. Your high blood pressure starts going up. And the people say to you, calm down, calm down, calm down. Have a drink of water. That's how stress works.
Right.
It's the same symptom. It's just that another thing is listening to your body. Your body has a language. It speaks to you.
Right.
Yeah. So when the body's speaking to you, you know it's a real evidence of that.
Right.
No, when your body's speaking to you, it's speaking to you to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
So when certain things like people break out in certain modes on their body, that's stress. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, from a medical perspective, some people do get situations where they can literally smell things come through their pores.
Wow.
Yes. Why? Because there's so much chemical release going on in the body, it comes to the surface.
Right. Which is why some people, before going on stage, speaking to 5,000 people, that's why they sweat. It's not necessarily that it's hot there, but their body is hot because it's getting agitated, and heat is just movement. That's all heat is energy moving and flowing. And the more energy that's going through our body, and in this case, bad energy, it's because we've got good energies and bad energies. If we have too much bad energy going through our body, our body tries to expel it, expunge it. It stinks. We don't like it.
Yes.
And then you start worrying about that, and it's just, oh, okay, wow. Whereas if we replace that with positive energies and de-stressing and everything, now we've got healthy energies in our bodies. And I know that on your podcast, you've talked about, the fact that you made some radical changes to your life, changed what you eat, like what you were saying earlier, what you put into your body, through your mouth and everything like that. That is that's bringing good energy into our body. Right. So
right.
Let's talk about that a little bit. We usually don't talk about like health and nature and everything, but that's an essential, important part of being an entrepreneur and being a business owner. We need to take care of our bodies, just like we take care of our websites and our social media and, bookkeeping and everything. We need to take care of ourselves, because we can't just replace it with a new website or replace it with a new tax system. We've got one body, and we got to be grateful for the one that we have. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay. I have to realize how the body we work with is so essential to take full-time care of it.
Mm-hmm.
That body relies on us to take responsibility in caring for it, nourishing it, feeding it, reading the right books, and etc. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing that regular, the body will give you a trigger of sign saying, help, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I went through my depression, what I realized was the atmosphere, the feel of depression was something that allows you to become a prisoner. Some people get caught up in it, never been taught how to release those stress, never been taught how to get out of a box that they've always been in.
Mm-hmm.
They continue to live in that situation, not because it feels good, it's because that's the only way they know.
Right.
So they create that environment as a form of security, even though it's not right.
Right.
So if they come out of the box, it's because they're fearful of, will the stress, my depression get worse? Because I don't know anybody who's going to take care of me, because I don't know anything else. So they go back into the box.
Right.
So when I came out of my depression, I had to realize, I asked myself one question: do I really want to live like this? That goes back to being honest with yourself. Now, I always say in my workshop, if you can't be honest with yourself, you won't get no results.
Right.
You won't get no support, or you won't get no help, because it's like almost going to a doctor. Let's say you catch 2 buses to go to see your doctor. The first thing the doctor say, what's your problem?
Right.
Can you imagine catching all 2 buses from where you live, go all the way to the doctor's, and you say to him, I don't know, doctor.
Right. You'd be like, why are you here? Like, what do you need? I don't know. My body's wrong. And it's like, well, where does it hurt? That's what the doctor asks.
Absolutely. He's looking for a solution, but you can't give him a solution if you don't tell him what the problem is.
Right. Right.
That's why he's there. That's why he's paid.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, when it comes to depression, a lot of people can't do that because they've not been taught anything different. They've only been taught one way. So I had to ask myself an honest question. Do I want to live like this? What about my wife? I looked at my wife and my son and I said, nah, this can't happen. I had to find a way of breaking that code, I call it, of despair, hopelessness, no hope. I looked at them and I said to myself, you got to pull your socks up now. You better start doing it now. Right. So when I did that, I began to realize there was some homework involved. That homework was you have to work on yourself first. Mm-hmm. The second one is you have to be honest to reach out and ask for help.
Yes.
That's the hardest part for most people who are in depression, because they always think you won't understand me, or you make judgment about what I'm saying, or you condemn me. So they stay in the box. Mm-hmm. But I have to get around that. But what was beautiful about it, my family was very well brought up on health and remedies and herbs. My sister, who was working in the national health for 20 years, she told us that we have to take responsibility to eat the natural things as possible. Mm-hmm. So to her, was allowing me to say, you know what, I'm going to do this. So what did I do? Alkaline water, organic food, and most important, changing my mindset. Mm-hmm. That was the main starting point. Change my mindset, because what's happening here, a lot of us walk about with so much toxic mindsets. Mm-hmm. Toxic mindset is like bacteria.
Right.
Based on what we know, based on what we've taught, but yet it's not making us healthy.
Right.
So all through that, I reprogrammed my mind. And that's when I realized how we can literally heal ourselves.
Right.
We heal ourselves when you've got the right method, when you've got the right tools and the right understanding, which requires education. Right health education. So when that came into process, I realized, hey, I don't feel like I was 5, 6 years ago. That was 8 years ago. Right. I came out and I kept a diary under my bed and I wrote all my life, which I use in my course, in my project now. Awesome. So all my life experience is what I use in my course and program for clients one-on-one. Why? Because that's what makes the work that I do more real to my clients, because they can relate to what I put in there as an experience. So that's how I end up realizing. And I never had no medication, not one.
Wow.
When I came out of it, I've never had no medication from any doctors. It was pure remedies, herbs, alkaline water, essential oils, rechanging my mind. Guess what happened? I started to heal. And how do you know you're healed? You begin to feel it. Mm-hmm. The things that you used to do is no longer there.
Right.
So I was like, wow, what's happening here? So I begin to penetrate into that new habit, and suddenly everything starts to work different. I start to think different. I start to feel clearer. I start to feel lighter. I start to feel healthier. That was an exciting journey. I said, hey, I'm not letting go of this.
Right.
So now I've gone that way. I'm now in the position of showing other people how they can do it. What I call the clean, organic way. And that's what happened.
I love that. It's so right. I think for me personally, a big turning point where I was able to, kind of regain control over my body and my health was exactly what you were saying. The biggest turning point is changing your mindset, because your mind is what's driving all of everything in your body. There are so many parts of our subconscious brain that control, our organs and our cells, the good and the bad bacteria in our body, all of that stuff, the hormones. And if we don't have the right mindset where our brain doesn't even want to communicate with each other, why is the rest of our body going to listen to it? And for me personally, what the biggest thing is when I realized that, one, I only have one body and I can't, I got it. It's a great body. It's hot. They messed up on shipping a little bit. It got a little damaged on the way here, but I love my body because it's mine. You ever meet one of those people that has that old, like, classic clunker car, and the car's just like, it's falling apart, but that person just loves their car. They're like, I've had this thing. It got me through high school and college, and it's just, And you're like, why do you still? And they're like, because it's mine. It's my baby. And they'll throw money into it and they'll fix it up. But you're like, why? Like, go buy a new car. And they're like, no, it's mine. I got that relationship with my body. And now when my body's in pain, I go, thank you, body, for letting me know, showing me those symptoms that I might be working too hard right now and I need to relax. Let me thank my body for bringing me this far in this journey here on earth. Thank you for that. And when I changed my mindset from I'm stuck with this body to you know what, this is my body and I love it and it's amazing and it does amazing things to keep me alive. And we're able to adapt and change. And rather than hating on your body when your body goes through natural changes, as we get older, sometimes we put a few extra pounds on. We get wrinkly, we get saggy. Those things are all natural changes that our amazing body is able to do to help us live longer, to help us adapt and grow and change. And when we look at that and we go, thank you for allowing me to do that, that mindset then changed. And I wanted to put the best fuel there was into my body. It was going back to the car analogy. I was like, I want the best gas. I want to put the best oil, the best premium fuel in my car because I love my car. I don't care that it costs a little bit more. I don't care that I have to drive to the gas station a little bit further away to get the good stuff. And that's how it was with my body. I went, you know what? I love my body. Why am I putting this junk in there? And that's why I was saying earlier, I don't get that like sweets, binging. I don't anymore. I used to when I was younger. I loved sweets. But then when my mindset changed and it was, why would I put that in my body? That's like putting sugar in your gas tank. Don't do that, guys. Don't put sugar in your gas tank. And our bodies have gas tanks as well. Do not put that sugar in there. Water became my favorite drink. I used to be a Dr. Pepper drinker. I'd drink gallons of that thing a week. And now I love water. And it's totally changed, like you said, with the mindset. So I think that's super important. And thank you for sharing, your story and understanding that, managing that stress. The last part of this podcast episode, I do want to talk a little bit about, dealing with not only the stress and our bodies and everything, but how we can deal with our bodies and taking care of our bodies, with our experiences that we've had, in trying to keep up with those other entrepreneurs and those people who can just push through the stress, symptoms, and signs because they've got a superhuman body. They've got that, that Ferrari that can drive 200 miles per hour. We don't. Let's talk about that a little bit. I want to hear some of. I know you've got a wealth of knowledge and experience in that brain of yours, Trevor. So let's talk about that. What would you recommend? What would you talk about there?
Okay. To reduce stress, the other thing about stress is check your environment.
Right.
For example, is your office or is your home set up in an environmental way that reducing stress? Now, simple things like, for example, I've done an exercise in the program. When I was working in the public sectors for the mental health, I used to work in the mental health hospitals and etc. I learned a lot about the behavior, the environment. Paint on your wall can change the atmosphere and environment in your room.
Right.
When you walk into that room, you don't want to leave that room.
Right.
Because it's so peaceful. You put a new carpet down, you put some plants in there. Even plants are very healing. I have quite a lot of plants. Plants are part of, it helps to reduce the stress. It takes stress away from you. So your environment is number one. Okay. A lot of entrepreneurs end up with hundreds of books in front of them on their desk. They've got 6 laptops open at the same time, and they're on the phone and making calls with everybody. Here's the problem. Your environment needs to be reduced. You need to make it more office where you have everything in priority and you can focus on. When you start having mountains of books and everything all around you, it's not helping you to stress. It's putting more stress on you. Just the environment itself.
Right.
So the body has a certain way of adapting to certain environments. For example, when you go on holiday, I don't know, I'm going to guess in your country, California or Los Angeles, the beach, automatically your body is healing.
Right.
Because it's a different environment.
Right.
Sometimes we need to analyze the environment that we're in. It could be your home, it could be your office, it could be your family. Sometimes it just takes a little changing. And before you know it, everybody in the home saying, you know what? This feels like home.
Right. There is a difference in those houses that feel like a home. Like we've all been in that situation. You go to somebody else's home and you're like, this just feels like home. I'm not a guest in the house or whatever, because those stress levels are down. You feel comfortable. You feel like you can be yourself. And I think that's even a bigger picture that we didn't necessarily talk about, but with those stress levels and in that environment, we need to listen to our body and listen to where we do need to be. Our body has those requirements. And, like for me, growing up with a physical disability, there are things that I will be more comfortable in than other people. Like I am the type of person that does well with, high pressure and cold environments. So I probably will never live in the UK. I love it out here in Arizona. Arizona is low pressure, high temps. It's great for arthritis. And I think that's something that we can remember, those with disabilities and those without disabilities. We need to listen to our bodies and understand that, one, we need to be in healthy environments. We need to surround ourselves with health, de-stress, put health into our bodies, de-stress what is putting into our bodies. But then I think also a very important factor that I'm getting from all of this, because you were basically like, we do these things, the world tells us it's okay to eat sugar and drink sugar and do all these things. And, oh, you have to work 60 hours a week to be successful, or no, you can't go on those vacations to those California beaches or whatever. And I think the biggest thing for me that made a difference in stress and also just overall happiness and better health is when I realized that we can't do things the same as everyone else. Just because other people are doing things and they're saying, okay, I'm drinking, 3 cups of coffee a day. And you're like, okay, that works for you. But we need to really listen to our own bodies, and we need to say, hey, for me, that doesn't work. I can't drink those, all that sugar and still feel good. I need to do what is for me. We all have different environments. Like you were even saying, like, for you and for me, when you said surround yourself with books, I did get more stressed. I was like, oh no, that sounds bad. But I'm sure there are people that de-stress in libraries and, with books and stuff. And so you need to just figure out for yourself what to do and not compare yourself to others, but listen to the advice of others. Going back to the beginning, of listening, listen to your mom, and listen to that advice and say, okay, yes, Trevor's got great ideas. This worked for him. Let me see if that'll work for me, and give that a try. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. Biggest danger, I think you've mentioned it many times, is when we start to compare ourselves to other people, that's where the problem starts getting worse.
Right.
And I say, the reason I say that is, you're not them and they are not you.
Right.
You have to work out what works for you.
Right.
Okay. I might put a plate of food down in front of you and people say I don't like it. I'm like, okay, let's use a bit of understanding here. You haven't even tried it yet. Right.
It's like, try it. Try it. Did you like it? Did you not? Listen to your body, how it makes you feel, but yeah, stop comparing yourself to others. Stop comparing yourself to, past experiences. We're always changing. We're always adapting. We're always growing. Like I said, that's something amazing that we have as humans. We are able to grow and adapt and learn from our mistakes. And we can do that. Trevor, we've had an awesome conversation today. Unfortunately, we're about out of time.
Okay.
I know that you have so much more wealth of knowledge. I wish we could just converse all day and all night. If people, if our audience who is listening right now, if they say, you know what, Trevor is awesome, I want to break up with Nate and Sheila, and I want to go, check out Trevor more, where can they find you? Where can they listen to you and experience more of your knowledge?
Okay, believe it or not, I only have an email address. And the reason why is because I find that the email address is what I have. It's info@livingyourgoodlife.co.uk. You can email me there, and I will able to forward you all the details about who I am, my bio, and etc. and etc. We'll give you a bit more information. I can send you the link of my podcasting radio station, and you can get to hear some of the episodes that I did on there. I've done probably about 22 different interviews from across the world. I've just did one last week from Japan, somebody from Japan who was online. Very brilliant interview. So yes, I am looking at putting more of myself out there in terms of different links that people can get. But right now I'm on LinkedIn. You can get me on LinkedIn as Trevor Jeremiah Carter. And if you put Trevor Jeremiah Carter, you will see me on there and you can connect. But I've got big plans coming up for the next couple of weeks, which is going to be huge, understanding more about what I do. So yes.
Perfect. Well, hopefully you'll have those big plans built out to fruition by the time this goes live. And if so, we'll put a link in the description for this podcast where you can go check out Trevor Carter, because he is fantastic. And thank you so much for being here on the show today. We talked a lot about some awesome things with stress and taking care of our bodies, because we only have one body. Let's take care of it so that we can accomplish all of those entrepreneurial dreams and goals that we have. So thank you, Trevor. You have been fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of The Messy Backend. We know you can't get enough of us. So have us on your podcast or have us speak at your next event. Visit themessybackend.com/speaking and send us your event details.
It's true. We love speaking. And we also want to thank our sponsor, Yes Women's Network, where you will find the connections you need to achieve your dreams. Find out more at yeswomensnetwork.com.
Also, our advertiser, PodServe FM. We couldn't do it without them. They get your podcast hosted and published quickly and easily. Visit them at podserve.fm/messy to find out more.
And a thank you to our advertiser, ThriveCart. They are the #1 shopping cart software that grows your income from existing traffic with high converting checkout pages, upsells, and affiliate campaigns. Watch the video for how simple this cart solution is at themessybackend.com/cart.
Once again, don't miss an episode. Head on over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe today.
Wonderful. I was like, okay, let's go on for another hour.
I know, right? Like I was too. And then I looked up at the clock. I was like, oh, shoot.
So let's just go down that road, Tanner.
Tanner, wow. Tanner is her son's name. Speaking about cheating, Trevor, she just called me her son's name.
Well, I love Tanner, so that's
It is. As an added bonus,